Hello and welcome to the Events Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Taylor, and each week I talk with event professionals about how they plan, promote, and run their events. Whether you're running small meetups or large conferences, exhibitions, and concerts, we focus on finding actionable tips that you can use straight away. Podcast is sponsored by our ticketing system, EventsFrame. Make the switch from Eventbrite today. We've got full integration with all the main payment gateways, so Stripe, PayPal, Braintree, etc. And just announcing email integrations with all the main email marketing systems, MailChimp, Zapier, Infusionsoft and Aweber, to name but a few. Really great system. Give it a try. No ticket fees, just a flat monthly fee. And if you drop me an email to Dan at eventsframe.com with the subject line podcast, I'll give you a special secret discount code. So on to today's interview. This is with Emma Jane Packe, and we had a few audio problems, but I don't think it detracts from the interview. It was a really good chat. Emma runs something called the Supper Club, which is a membership group based in London for successful entrepreneurs. And what's interesting about Emma is they run 250 plus events a year, both for members and also for members plus external people. So it's really good to hear how you can build a membership community, and they've really built it on the back of events. So super interesting chat. And I think there's anyone who's looking to run a lot of events or anyone who's interested to maybe grow their membership community can get a lot of interesting information here. So on to the interview with Emma Jane. Hi, and welcome to the Events Podcast. Today, I'm delighted to be talking to Emma Jane Packe, who is Managing Director of the Supper Club in the UK. So hello, Emma. How are you?
Hi there. Well, thank you very much.
Great. A bit of behind the scenes, we had a bit of an issue with Emma's audio, so we just started again, and it's now sounding much better. So it's great to be talking to you. Supper Club's a members community for CEOs and founders of companies and high growth startups. So I'm really keen to learn a lot more about it and learn about Emma's background. So let's jump straight into it, Emma. First of all, if you could just give me a quick overview of what your background is, and then we'll talk about the background of the Supper Club as well.
Yeah, that's great. So I went off to university to study geography, which was great fun. Went to Nottingham, and then made the very natural leap into media sales. And so started off in that sort of more old school way now of sort of 100 calls a day, 2 hours on the phone. And I did that both in London and Amsterdam. And we were obviously talking offline a bit about what a great start that is to any career.
I think any sales job, I think, is just so underrated in terms of the skills for an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. I think you get so used to the rejection, making 100 calls, we were sort of taught the old a bit 80s now, but, every no is closer to the next yes. There's an author called Dan Pink who very famously wrote Drive, which is how you are motivated, and there's a great RSA animate on YouTube about that. But he also wrote Selling is Human, which I highly recommend, which is his whole sort of idea is that 1 in 9 people are in sales, and the other 8 people are in sales, but they don't realise it. Because if you've ever gone up for a job interview, or if you've ever had to go for a promotion, or even sell an idea to a colleague, friend, whatever it might be, you've had to learn the skills of persuasiveness, of transferring enthusiasm, of selling yourself or an idea, whatever it might be.
It's true. Sorry.
Yeah, go on.
No, carry on.
But yeah, he talks about this idea of decatastrophization, which is, as a salesperson, someone says no to you and you decastrophize it. You take out the emotion and go, okay, well, their loss, on to the next. And I think that's had a really powerful impact, both in my professional life and personal life, because you go from this highly emotive up and down to quite neutral thinking, that you get into the sort of mindset that, do you know what, whether I get a yes, get a no, whatever happens, I will prepare myself for how I deal with it after. Or if a problem comes up, I think about solving it rather than getting stressed and emotional. So I think, and especially that's tied in very well with the nature of events, where sometimes you do have a drama before an event, speaker drops out, or there's a nightmare with the venue, or ticket sales, whatever it might be, or you might have positive and negative feedback from an event, and again you take the emotion out and you just think, right, how can I prove it and go on to the next? So I think it served me very well for future life.
It's funny, I think I don't know where I heard the quote, but when you're selling, I think it was when I had a couple of sales jobs when I was at university, and Like if you just treat every no as another step to getting a yes, like this is a no, okay, it's fine, but it's like you get quite analytical, I think, when you do sales, and you just realize it's a numbers game. If you, as long as you keep modifying your pitch, you're eventually going to get someone who's going to want what you're selling. And you just got to be able to take the rejection, because it's never going to be 100%. And I think it's interesting, because nowadays people make way less phone calls, and I'm curious what you think. I was chatting to a good friend of mine, and he was saying that because like it's really changed. I don't know, maybe 5 years. I think that people have just stopped making phone calls as much. Everyone texts, everyone uses WhatsApp. But he's saying because of that, he gets way more success with phone calls because no one's calling as much. I don't know if you find that.
It's a very good observation. I think if you go buck the trend, years ago in the club, we started sending out physical letters because no one was sending out physical letters, and we got loads of wins from that, and people were opening up, interesting, I've got a letter, a parcel. But then everyone started jumping on that bandwagon to step out. So then you have to change it up again. Yeah. In the world of WeWorking now, you can't really cold call a CEO. Most of the time they're not at their desk. Most of the time they're on their phone. So we have to approach entrepreneurs and CEOs. We tend to do a lot of marketing effort. Most of ours comes through referrals, but then also if we identify people we think would be a good fit for the club, we go out and invite them to join. So we have to do a lot of marketing effort before we then put them in front of someone who then explores membership with them and make sure they're a fit. So and I think if you talk to a lot of members and people now, marketing used to be, we'll do a bit of marketing, but mainly it's the salespeople. But it's so much more integrated, and you just don't get sales without the marketing. Marketing is such a big part of that whole journey now. And whereas in my first role in media sales, the marketing team were very much focused on bringing traffic to our website, and then the sales team, we were the marketing and sales team getting clients on board. So we were a website, an online sort of marketplace, and we were the ones selling to clients. So I do think, and also I think a lot of people rely too much on email. I much prefer to give people a quick call or speak to them face to face, because my spoken language is much better than my written. I just think you can get stuff done quicker over the phone. Yeah, definitely. I think you're right. And the cold calling has gone a lot, but it's still, people still don't want to pick up the phone. Like, I mean, for me, I get on the phone at the earliest opportunity, because you can email backwards and forwards and text endlessly, and it slows it down. You can figure out a way forward, or there is no way forward on a call. But just in terms of your story, so obviously Amsterdam is. I used to live in Amsterdam as well, actually, which is one of my favourite cities. Great place. So how did you go from this to starting the business? What was the next step? So I worked for this company for 6 years, and the founder of that company was actually a member of the Supper Club already. So she used to come back from her entrepreneurs club and come up with all these crazy ideas, and we'd then have to implement them as a senior management team. So after I'd been in Amsterdam for 2 years managing her office and had put in succession planning, decided to move back to the UK. At the same time, our founder had invested in a startup herself. And I consulted on the sort of sales strategy because I hadn't built it. It was in pre-revenue stage. And then came back after Christmas. Their sort of investment deal had changed somewhat. So it was a personal investment rather than a business one. And I decided it was probably time for me to move on. 6 years there, it was all very amicable. So I decided to leave and was looking. And then the actual founder of the Supper Club, who founded, I can tell you a bit more about the Supper Club, 15 years ago, he was looking for someone, and she knew that he was looking, so introduced us, and the rest is history. So I've been at the Supper Club for 6 years now.
Wow, so that's actually pretty, in the modern world, staying at a job for 6 years twice is pretty exceptional. I think most of the average is like a year, isn't it? A year and a half or something.
Absolutely. I'm quite rare amongst my friends. My first job out of uni was 6 years, and by that stage most of them had 2 or 3, and then to 12 years into my career and only having 2 jobs, I think is very rare. But cool. I've enjoyed both of them. So
that's great. Now what's the background for the Supper Club? And I guess the thing, that the confusion I'm sure you get all the time is, I guess it's not connected with the Supper Club, the bar and club in Amsterdam.
No. Do you know what? We get that way less. When I first joined, I used to get that a lot.
Probably showbiz, but that was popular like 10, 15 years ago, I guess, when I was in Amsterdam.
we're way more than dodgy white beds and cocktails. We used to get that a lot. Actually, over the last couple of years, the supper club is very well known now within the entrepreneur sphere. So if we mention it, most people go, oh yeah, I've heard of you, and it is about us, not the club in Amsterdam. So which is great, and obviously our marketing and our name is getting much more well known now, which is great. So we've been around for 15 years. We actually celebrated our 15-year anniversary in August this year, and it was born out of Duncan many years ago. Duncan's now our chairman, and he's gone off to found another tech business in the e-learning space. But he was going to lots of networking events, which we've all been at, where it was kind of like business cards ready, everyone trying to sell something, and no one there looking to buy. So he said there must be a better way of getting entrepreneurs together where it is much more about learning rather than selling. So that's what he did. He brought a bunch of mates together, and they had a rule or sort of motto when it first started, which was no lawyers, accountants, or life coaches.
That's a good so you should add in like recruitment agents and a few more things, insurance salesmen.
Absolutely. Well, it was ironic because Duncan's an ex-accountant, so that was kind of irony there. But they said there are events out there for that, but it's much more about the founders. So started it, and the whole ethos was give and get. Sometimes you'll be the one learning, sometimes you're the one sharing, and let's share experience, thoughts, advice. And you had to be past startups at least 1 million turnover. Yep. And you have to be the founder or CEO. Now, fast forward 15 years, we've still very much got pretty much the same motto. We've got just under 500 members, all founders, CEOs of businesses that are past that 1 million mark. But it ranges sort of 1 million right up to sort of 500 million plus. We've got an ever-growing community of those who've exited and sold businesses, as you can imagine, and sort of looking at life after and investments, etc. And we've now run over 3,000 events over that 15 years. We do about 250 events a year, and they range from, of course, dinners, suppers, sort of intimate round tables, 8 to 10 people. We've branched out and do breakfast and lunches, but we also do speaker events, workshops, bigger summits, socials, so ski trips, overseas events. So there's a lot that we do, and lots of different types. So yeah.
And is it like a physical club where people can go, or is it all just you run it from your office and you host events in different places?
The latter, yes. We don't have a physical club. We use lots of private dining rooms around London. Obviously, there are amazing venues all over the city. We do events. We were down in Bristol a couple of months ago, Birmingham, Liverpool, Manchester, and we're launching some forum groups in Manchester, Leeds, and Birmingham in the new year as well.
Great, that looks super interesting. So in terms of the events you run, I'm kind of familiar. I run a kind of similar kind of level of events a year, so I kind of know what that entails. What are the main events you run, and is it mostly the meetups, or how does it break down that 250 events a year?
Yeah, so we do probably about between 10 and 14 round tables a month. And typically dinners, although we will do lunches and breakfast. And the dinners, they're 8 to 10 people. We'll have chairs, someone from our team's there who takes notes, and they circulate the following day. And then they're mostly the really well curated events. So
right, so you have a structure to the dinner. It's
absolutely. It's chaired and cross table. So let's say it's a topic, and we do all sorts of topics. So raising finance, going into the US, planning for exit, incentivizing a senior management team, anything and everything you think about scaling your business and sort of life beyond. So let's take launching in the US, for instance. What we do is go, right, we want to put a dinner on this in January. We'd go and identify a couple of members who are already over there or have been there, done that, who we'd ask to come and give back. We'd identify a chair for the evening, so either one of the directors or one of our long-standing members. And then one of our team would go, obviously, to take notes and ensure the event goes well. And then we might know of a selection of members this is particularly relevant for at the moment. So 3 or 4 that we know that you're about to go do this, or you're doing this at the moment, come to this dinner and, bit of vicarious learning, learn from others. And then we also obviously post it on our website, and it goes out to members and they can then book on. And what we make sure is we obviously get a well-balanced group in there who can share and give back as well as learn. And then we look at personalities as well, because we know our members quite well. So we carefully curate to go, are there any clashes, competition, or is this a really feisty group and we might need a few quieter, or is this quite a quiet group and we might need an extra personality in there just to liven it up. Sure. So we carefully curate those, and they're the bulk of what we do. And then we do about 10 to 12 speaker events a year where we'll have 50 to 100 people in the audience, and we'll have a panel, typically our members, who share their experience around a specific subject, and that's open to non-members as well. And then we do workshops where it's much more training and tools based. So we'll have about 20 to 40 in the room, and you have the speaker, the trainer. He'll do more tools based training for sort of 3 to 4 hours.
Great. Now, in terms of the larger events you run where you have external people, how are you marketing them? Like, obviously, with your internal events, it's pretty obvious. I guess you send out, you've got an email list of your members, you email them, you put it on an internal members area of the website. How are you getting the word out for the bigger events to non-members?
That's a good question, Dan. And if you've got any ideas, I'd like to hear them as well.
It's a $1 million question.
Absolutely. So we've over the years, we've got a network of members, ex-members, sort of leavers, but also those who don't yet qualify, or people that want to be engaged but haven't quite joined yet, who are on our sort of database. Obviously, right. GDPR compliant as of earlier this year. So we've got a very engaged group now, which is the joy of GDPR, is having to go through that process meant that you do have a very engaged database now. That we reach out to. They get sort of updates or invites to certain events that they can come to. We also do a lot. So there's lots of different ways we do it, but obviously through social. We do LinkedIn's a very powerful tool for us, both organic and paid. And then for our members, we do quite a lot of the events, especially the workshops, but also the speaker events. They're aimed at entrepreneurs, but also their teams as well. So senior leadership team coming to a speaker event can be very powerful. But also the workshops where it might be on sales or marketing or leadership or whatever it might be. We get a lot of members' teams coming to those as well. So. And then, if you've got any experience and sort of, I'm always looking for that elusive silver bullet. Then reaching out and doing campaigns to make more relevant people who haven't heard of us before aware of our workshops and speaker events, even if they don't qualify for the club, they're then aware of us and all the other ways that we can help them as well, which is great.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think I would have guessed you were doing LinkedIn because that's kind of it for your kind of demographic. It seems like that's probably more effective than Facebook, which I guess is the most logical other place to do paid advertising. I've never done any LinkedIn advertising myself. Actually, I've looked at it and it just seems the cost per click is high, but I guess depending on the ticket price, you can justify that.
Yeah, I think we've had mixed results for actually doing it for specific events. We're trying to think about doing it more as a campaign of working out, making people aware of what we do. So take the workshops, for example, we do about 40 of those a year. So making people aware generally that we do those types of events rather than trying to do paid advertising per event, because I think you're right, the cost per click on LinkedIn is just not, it's just very high and wouldn't be worth it. Yeah. Although we're trying different ways.
The only thing I've done quite a bit of recently is just outreach on LinkedIn, like adding people's connections you think could be interested to work with us as a customer, and then sending them some information. And it's kind of it is time consuming, but that seems to be working. Like doing that, constant outreach, constant. If they're not interested, cool. All the best. But people don't seem to mind you adding them as a connection on LinkedIn. It's not like Facebook. They don't have to be a real friend. And I'm seeing that. Do you partner with any venues and get them to promote, like, for example, co-working spaces, or are you going for like the hotels and things for these venues?
Interesting question. Yes and no. So on some of the events, for instance, we do quite a few, not all, but quite a few of our workshops in a co-working location in London called the Office Group. They have about 20 locations around London and they're brilliant. You can obviously rent whole offices, but they do co-working, etc. And they rent rooms where we can do workshops. They're really lovely.
Yeah.
And they post our workshops on their kind of newsletter for their own members.
Great.
So, which again, that helps. And then we have, it just depends, quite a lot of the time, the bigger venues don't necessarily have the right audience for us, because we don't want it to be a free-for-all. One of the key things for speaker events is having the right audience in the room. So we don't want it just to be a free-for-all. So it's just trying to find that balance. We do work with partners. So for some of our bigger events, we've had supporting partners, sponsors, who will then market it to their own audience as well. So it's sort of jointly for the room.
And do you run these bigger events as like evening events or as full day events?
We tend to do those sort of half day. So the speaker events are typically sort of 2:33 till 5:30. So it's an afternoon, it's an hour and a half of content and then some networking. Yeah. And then we've done a sort of summit series where we call it foresight events, where it's the future. Most of our events are insight and hindsight, what I would have done differently. But we're looking at like what's coming over the hill, what tsunami's coming in to wash ourselves out, and how can we prepare for it now? So we did something on the future workforce, the future of finance, they were absolutely brilliant. And we did those for partners. So we actually used some cinemas, which are always brilliant. A lot of cinemas, screening rooms. If you do them in the morning, we did it 8 till 1. That's times when they're not normally showing stuff.
That's true, yeah.
Good packages, and they're starting to do a lot more of that. So that they're a good spot. The Curzon is the one that we used in London. It was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've noticed that here in Prague, where I live, I went to a Google Partner event, which was at a cinema in the morning, and it's kind of a cool atmosphere going to a cinema when it's kind of quiet and stuff as well. I like it.
Yeah, it's really good.
Now, so you've been doing this for 6 years now. What are the trends you've seen in terms of how you've changed? Because it seems like events are your main product. If you think of it like that, at the supper club, that's the thing people are joining for, to meet these other people at the round tables and at the other ones. Like, what are the changes you've noticed in how you've done it across that time, if any?
Yeah, plenty. So there's a couple of things. There's a sort of more macro stuff, and then internally, I mean, every single event we do, we have what we call our review and improve document. So we go, right, what worked well and we should do again? What didn't work so well and what will change for next time? And that could be a dinner. So dinners are more formulaic, as it were, and they're smaller and they're 3 hours and they're simpler, in inverted commas, logistics wise. Obviously, it's very much about the content and the people around you have around the table, and making sure people don't cancel last minute, because that has a massive impact and stuff like that. We'll come back and tend to go, right, what do we approve of and what should we improve? So it's a very quick feedback mechanism. But for some of the bigger events that we do, speaker events, or when we do member only, like we did a ski trip last year, we'll sit down afterwards and go, right, what really worked, what hasn't, and we'll try it again. And we keep every document, because what we find is sometimes you'll try something new and then you kind of almost revert back to the way you were doing a couple of years ago, because as we've already talked about, you go through these sort of rhythms and changes, and what worked now didn't work and vice versa. Overall, macro-wise, what there's definitely been a trend in is there's so many events nowadays, and especially in our world of entrepreneurs. I could be out, breakfast, lunch and dinner most nights if I really wanted to, and was out there going to everything. November right now is absolute mental. I'm out every single night. And people tend to do their award ceremonies, and then I've got lecture series going on as well. And then we've obviously got our own events. So where a few years ago, when I first joined, having to educate entrepreneurs on the benefits of peer learning and the benefits of investing time in yourself and working on the business, not in it. Now I'm having to make sure that we're seen amongst the noise, and that whenever there's an experience that a member comes, or anyone, not just a member, but comes to an event with us, it creates impact for them straight away. So they go, yes, that was a good event and it was worth me going there. So you're having to stand out, and it's the quality of the event that is more focused now, rather than whether they'll turn up at all.
True. I'd imagine for you that sort of roundtable dinners are the key thing, because that's something that's more exclusive. It's not just, it's only open to members and people, and people are going to. I'd imagine it's quite an enjoyable thing. I imagine that's something that people would be more interested in, your members, than the other events. I'm not sure if that's true.
It's horses for courses. So a big thing when you ask members, and we just did some video content, and we asked them what were the 4 words that you would use to describe the club, and every single one of them, one of their words was fun. And that wasn't prompted by us, but they sort of, and it's fun. Yeah. And I think a lot of people go, do you know what, actually it can be quite lonely at the top as an entrepreneur. So it's quite nice being around, in whatever format it is, around your peers and be able to share stories, etc. And, over a nice dinner, there's, what's not to like if you're having a nice dinner and talking business and amongst peers. It's really fascinating. The other thing, and I think it's not just an entrepreneurial trait, but it's a very strong one, is having that growth mindset and always looking to learn. So they love vicarious learning. So even if they haven't got a challenge themselves, they love helping others solve their challenges or hearing challenges that others have faced that they haven't yet. So really learning from each other, and that's something that they really, really enjoy.
I imagine, do the dinners sometimes kind of take a life of their own and they end up going out together afterwards, or is it normally just a dinner and then everyone leaves afterwards? I'm curious how it ends up with these things.
Oh, gosh. If you ask... So in terms of the socialising, yeah, it very much depends. If you were asking people from 15 years ago, they'd hark back to the good old days when they were all out till 5 o'clock in the morning after dinner. Yeah. But I think as the club has matured somewhat, it's not, a drinking club at all. You're there to talk business, and a lot of the members, late 30s, early 40s is sort of average age. There's a lot of young families. Yeah. And I think, as I mentioned before, you're now competing with all the other responsibilities and opportunities and events that others can go to. So yeah. Members come to have that impact, to meet people. And so most of our dinners wrap up about 9:30. People have left by 10. But there are definitely members and or dinners where people are like, well, who wants to go on for a drink or sure. On to the next bar or stay for a drink. That happens quite a lot. It's not every time by any imagination.
That's interesting. I'm curious about the ski trip, how that's organised and what's the structure of that?
Yeah, so we've done plenty of ski trips over the years with members, but quite a lot of time we've done it with members organising their own trips, and a couple of others have joined. Last year we did our first all members ski trip, and we had 20 of us. So we had 15 of us. This year we'll have 20 of us, and we went from the Thursday to the Sunday. And it was a real collection of members. Most of them hadn't met each other before. And there was myself and one of the team who went. And we went to Leger last year. Got on the plane, got out the other side and do those wonderful ski trips up the mountains. We kind of got to know each other. And what was amazing, there was no forced fun. Each evening we sat down, had dinner, and then we'd go off skiing in the morning. There were naturally some very good skiers. There was a couple who'd done it like once before maybe, so they went slower or went off the ski lessons, and then we all met up again at lunch, and then obviously dinner afterwards. And it was amazing how much business was done on the slopes, getting to know each other, find out what you do, and I'll make an introduction here or help you out here. Sure. And also what was amazing was the camaraderie and the friendships that were born. One of the guys said this group that had now... they'd gone on a ski trip. He says it's probably my closest group of friends now outside of my family, which I was like, wow.
That's something about being in the mountains. They just bring that out. I spend a lot of time. I've got a place in the Austrian Alps, actually. I spend a lot of the winter down there. And I love it. I love the atmosphere and everything about it.
It's a wonderful experience, and I think why we decided to do it again this year was everyone who went last year was like, let's do it again. So we've added more people, and there's a couple of people who couldn't make it, but and they're really, really excited. And I think with entrepreneurs, when they go on holiday, obviously they're usually running their business, and when they go on holiday, it might be with family or friends or kids, and actually going somewhere where someone mentioned it to me last year and said, look, this is the first time I don't have to, someone else is organising it for me. Yeah, I'm around peers and I have interesting conversations, and I can just completely relax. Yeah. I don't have to worry about it. It's all done for me, and I just get to hang out with really interesting people. And that was amazing. And I hadn't really thought about the positive impact of just hanging out and not having to worry about stuff, and how refreshing and relaxing that can be for entrepreneurs especially.
Definitely. Did you stay in a chalet or in a hotel?
We stayed in a hotel last year, actually, and it was really great. And it was halfway between Léger, and then it went up to another resort, and I can't remember its name. This year we're doing the same. We looked at chalets, but actually we've got this amazing hotel again this year. Okay,
cool. So really, really interesting stuff. What do you think is the future in terms of the Supper Club and obviously and your events, which is kind of core to what you're doing? Do you think it sounds like you've got a good thing going? Do you think it's kind of more of the same, or do you think you've been making any changes in terms of how you structure things?
Yeah, so there's lots of, we're always looking at different content that we can do. So we know, doing this for 15 years, we know the tried and tested formats that we know can be powerful. And that's why people do trust that they come to an event of ours and it is going to be good. So we're always playing around with content. So last year we tried our foresight events, which were really interesting. So we had a couple of members, but it was mostly experts in fields of sort of AI and futurists, etc., which were fascinating. Next year, we've built on our workshops and we're going to be doing more of those. A couple of years ago, we'd only just started them, and now we're doing 40 a year because we proved the model and it worked. And we're starting to deliver more across the country. So traditionally, we've been very London-based in our delivery, although our members are based all over the UK. But now we're doing more events, as I mentioned. Manchester, Leeds, Bristol. We're up in Liverpool last year, or this year, sorry. We're in Milan and Bristol. We're going back and delivering more across the UK, which is definitely an area for us. And then we're also, we've, over the last 15 years, 3,000 events, we've minuted every single one of them. So you've got this huge, bank of knowledge, and our members have got, huge amounts of experience. So we've started producing more content guides, and we're doing more video stuff for our members and the outside world. And then we're actually at the moment exploring doing more online courses. So taking the best practice that we've seen and all that distilled insight from, over 1,000 entrepreneurs now of how the best businesses scale, and putting that more onto live events still. We think that's very important, still having it live, but also having it in a format that you can dip in and out of online as well.
Sure, and then I'm curious if you're looking to do stuff outside of the UK, or are you staying focused on the UK as the main thing?
Good question. So we will in time want to explore. We actually explored going into the US this year because there are so many of our members who are launching in the US in one form or another. So we were looking at the East Coast. We decided the format we'd want to take out there with. We wanted to test it in the UK first, make sure the model's right, because as you scale your issues, so make sure that works well. And then we'll probably look at the East Coast of US, and we'll probably look at Dubai or Singapore as well, because they're quite rich hubs for entrepreneurs as well. But that's probably in a couple of years' time.
Yeah, it's interesting. Dubai is, I'm doing more and more things in the UAE now, and that's definitely... It's taken, especially with it's got a big connection to the UK. So many British people have gone out there, so that's definitely good. I'd imagine for you it would be big.
Yeah, it definitely is. And there's quite a few members who've been over there, either worked there or have actually lived there, and it's a fascinating world. So yes, that's definitely an area we'll be looking to explore.
Yeah, it is. I've got mixed feelings about it. I don't think I'd like to live there, but I'd love to visit it. It's really easy to get to. Even from Prague, there's 4 airlines fly daily from Dubai. That's how much traffic there is going from here, and Prague's a small city, So it's huge.
I've never been. I need to go.
Oh, to Prague or Dubai?
Dubai. Well, neither actually. Prague is on my list next year.
You're going to go to both. I'd say go to Prague before Dubai, definitely. But Dubai is more of a business hub, that's for sure.
Will do.
Yeah. So look, really fascinating to talk to you. If anyone's interested in the Supper Club, how can they find out more information and see if it's a good fit for them, or see if they could even be accepted?
Absolutely. So you could head over to the site, which is thesupperclub.com, and have a look. All our events are live on that site. So, and it's really clear which ones are member only and then which ones are open to the wider community. And there's normally 2, if not 3 or 4 a month that are open to non-members as well, whether they're workshops or speaker events. And then if you do qualify for membership, there's real simple apply. Just give us the details, and then one of the team will be in touch, and be great to explore further.
Great. Well, Emma Jane, great to talk to you. Sorry about the technical issues we had, but I think we'll just edit out the middle part. It was a fascinating talk, and good luck both for the Supper Club and for you personally with your career there. It sounds great.
Thank you very much, and you too. Cheers. Thanks. Bye.
Do you want to sell more tickets to your amazing events? EventsFrame event ticketing has been built to minimize the amount of time it takes to buy a ticket. Result? You sell more tickets. Check out eventsframe.com.